Illuminati is a thing you need to watch out for. They want to depopulate, enslave us so much more. World domination, I'll get into that later. I'm hardcore, fierce and sexy. You're just a hater. You deserve the ridicule because you're an absolute zero. I'm the keeper of the chalice, a rock and roll hero. I'm not an idiot nobody listens to, because I'm not a failure in life like you. Let's talk about the gates and the mark of the beast and the orgies in the streets at the Catholic feasts and Bill and Hillary's human trafficking ring. And George Soros got the money to pay for everything. Socialism is for losers, working for the devil. Chumps that can't fight, they ain't on my level. It takes an evil one to try to debunk a doubter, so I'd rather die than stop talking about it. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out for the Illuminati.
You're watching the MC Too-Tall Show. I, of course, am your hardcore, fierce, and sexy host that is never, never, never gross and doesn't have gross teeth, MC Too-Tall. And I always tell people, don't be gross, don't be a creep. And it's very important. And it's very important that you don't support political figures who are gross, who are a creep. And it's just how it is in this life. And I'm here to talk to you about our very moral, ethical, because it is primarily conservative neighborhood of Gravesend. As I said, moral and ethical because of the conservatism that exists. Where there is conservatism, there is morality. Where there is God, there is a sense of what is right and what is wrong. Where there is ungodliness, there is nothing but wrong. So with that said, we're talking about Gravesend, Brooklyn, New York. I used to have a song called The Odyssey, and there was a line in there where I said, West 7th Street, Gravesend, Brooklyn is where I'm from. And of course, I waited until I moved out of that house on West 7th Street before I would perform that song. And not in major venues, on street corners in my mid-20s, because the average rapper in his mid-20s does their rapping on street corners, not in big venues. That usually doesn't come to them until their late 20s, into their early 30s, and some luck out and find the right people that put them in the right places. That's just how that works. But anyway, we're moving right along. When I started doing my shows in venues like Freddy's, Parkside Lounge, Otto Shrunken Head, of course, Rocky Sullivan's and Red Hook, I was billed as MC Too-Tall, of course. That's why I'm using my name for this show and why I've been using that name ever since. And I already told you the story. Just look at other videos of the past, how I got that name. I got that name in 9th grade. But I would also be dubbed the Pride of Gravesend. And when you're dubbed the Pride of Gravesend, you gotta say so, especially when a lot of Gravesend stuff is propping up now. You got the TV series Gravesend, and the Brooklyn brand is out there, and they promote a lot of their merch in that Gravesend series. There is Gravesend merch where you have the logo of the TV series on there. My friend Frank has a series coming up called The Scrap Life, or Scrap Life, and it's going to focus a lot on Gravesend for the first season. And so with all this talk of Gravesend, I will tell you a little bit about what I know about Gravesend. As somebody who has not changed zip codes since birth and has been born in 1969, I got a lot of years vested here. I believe I have more than half a century vested in the 11223 zip code. So I date back to when the area code here was 212, and phone numbers began with 2 letters. And you actually would see letters on your on the holes in the on the dial of your phone. That's how far back I go. So, as a person that goes that far back, I could be one of 2 things. I could either be the wise old man of the mountains, or an equivalent of the wise old man in the mountains, or just some fuddy-duddy that failed at everything in life that you should rightfully call a joke when giving sound advice or opining on anything having to do with history, especially when it comes to history repeating itself. But I assure you, I am the former, not the latter. And the proof in the pudding is right there. My record, my life speaks for itself. So now that I said that about me, and you know enough about me from watching the MC Too Tall show, looking at the footage of my shows, my live music performances, and of course my music videos, plus my interviews, my frequent appearances on a show called Ruin Who that used to appear every Wednesday at 4 p.m. broadcasted live out of Otto's Shrunken Head. Now, enough about me. Let's talk about Gravesend. Gravesend is south of Dyker Heights and Bay Ridge, north of Coney Island, and west of Sheepshead Bay. Am I right? Am I right? And east of Bensonhurst. And there are so many ties in with Bensonhurst, people often get Gravesend confused with Bensonhurst. People often get Gravesend confused with Bensonhurst. And sometimes I even slip up and say Bensonhurst. But now I can, with Gravesend being more on the map than it ever was before, I could actually say, yeah, I'm from Gravesend. One of the other people to highlight this, if you know the rapper Cold Shoulder, he's from Gravesend. And if you know the rapper DJ combination or MC DJ duo, M-Try and DJ Lisi T, okay, Gravesend residents. Not 100% sure where Lisi T is from, but M-Try definitely a Gravesend individual. I like using that word, individual. If you're familiar with the rap group Nonfiction, Sabak Red from Nonfiction is from Gravesend. In fact, I went to high school with Sabak Red, back when he was known as Johnny Red. And we used to cipher at Lafayette Playground, which sat between Lafayette High School and Shady Park. And there's a little seating area with the stone benches and the stone tables or concrete tables there. And we would cipher back and forth, and there'd be a whole bunch of black kids gathered around us, pumping their fists, doing ho, ho, ho. I wonder how that must have looked to somebody from the outside looking in. They see this whole crowd, they hear rapping coming from the middle of this crowd, and then they peek into the middle of the crowd and see these two white kids rapping back and forth. That must have been a sight to see for someone from the outside looking in. But that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. Marlboro Projects. A lot of people say that Marlboro Projects is in Coney Island. It is not. It's actually the majority of it in Gravesend, with a piece of it and would be considered Bensonhurst. So yes, a housing project in the middle of two predominantly white neighborhoods. And back in the 70s, there'd be some tension between the white kids and the black kids from the projects, but it is long tapered off, and you have a lot of people from the projects that come up to Avenue to shop. They go home quietly, no mess, no problems. And in fact, I used to date a girl that lived in the Marlboro Projects. This is going back to 1989, so we're talking a very, very long time. And there's that. And Gravesend, some of the known places to eat around here. Of course, L&B Spumoni Gardens, Cicio's Pizzeria, and technically, because they're on the Gravesend side of Stillwell Avenue, John's Deli. Just saying. I mean, but that's that area that a lot of people will claim is Bensonhurst. Even I, as I said, can make that mistake once in a while. Especially since John's Deli feeds pretty much all the children on their lunch break coming out of Lafayette High School. And Lafayette High School is in Bensonhurst. As a matter of fact, its address is a Benson Avenue address. So that's what I know about Gravesend. Also from Gravesend is my friend Frank. You probably know him as Frankie Newts from the cable TV series Scrappers. And he's coming up with a series, as I mentioned, Scrap Life, but I don't want to get into too much detail on that because it's not my project and I don't want to be a barker for somebody else. And ruin like their promo of their own project, you know. So sometimes you step into these things, you think you're helping, and you end up hurting, and I don't want to do that. So I'll just leave it at that. Coming up soon, a series called Scrap Life, and it's drawn together by my friend Frank and his team. Let's see, who else could I say is from Gravesend? Well, since Marlboro Projects are in Gravesend, a longtime baseball coach named Gus Loria, who actually played for the Giants, the New York Giants baseball team, lived in the Marlboro Projects. And so did Mets Baseball Hall of Famer pitcher Johnny Franco. And to my understanding, so did former Pittsburgh Pirate Benny DeStefano. In fact, he dated the sister of two people that I'm friends with on Facebook to this very day. And the sister of two people that I went to school with from elementary school all the way through high school. Pretty cool people. Got along with the brother, didn't get along too well with the sister until later in life. And then that was it. Life changes you, makes you more mature with things, you know? Anyway, this neighborhood was predominantly Italian for many, many years. You would have some Irish families, some Jewish families, not a lot of Russian people at the time, but now there's a heavy Russian influence and also a heavy Chinese influence. Matter of fact, the state senator for this area is from China, but his family came from China to get away from that life of communism in Red China. And that man has more than contributed to the betterment of community. Of course, I'm talking about State Senator Steve Chen. And so we have, as I said, a lot of influence now, and we're finally on the map. And I figured, as somebody who has been dubbed the pride of Gravesend by somebody else, I didn't do that myself. There are some aliases, if you want to call it that I pinned to myself, and have done so shamelessly and with utter pride. But this one, somebody else tagged onto me. My friend Brian from Boxer Crayons, Black Death, Pocket Monster, Surgical Six, Dylan Lane Syndicate, who also flies solo under the pseudonym The Subway Serenader. Of course, I'm talking about my good friend Brian Dillon. He's the one that dubbed me as the pride of Gravesend. And so it is something that I wear with factual pride because, hey, when you think of Gravesend, who do you think of? And speaking of Gravesend, the TV series Gravesend, the brainchild behind that is a very good friend of mine, William DeMeo, from Gravesend. Famous entrepreneurs in this area. A lot of people are familiar with Maria the Ice Cream Girl. I've known Maria since the 80s. Very nice people. Never, good friend of mine, never fought with her once. I mean, people of equal class and dignity will always get along. Put it to you that way. And so me and Maria always get along because we are of equal class and dignity. And that's it pretty much. I think I've covered everything. Every once in a while I like to do this non-political stuff. But Gravesend is a nice, clean, conservative neighborhood. And as I said, it is that way because of its conservatism. It's a place with a high moral standard because of its conservatism and the general consensus of a belief in God. And things that have gotten me this for can't forget another person of Gravesend, and has been for many years. Former welterweight kickboxing champion and movie star and martial arts promoter, Louis Neglia, who I trained under. And a lot of things that have gotten me far in life, I've gotten there because of my belief in God and my martial arts training. And also my Apex education helped in some areas as well, especially in the automotive repair field. But that's just how it is, man. That is just how it is. And so, on to the I say, respect God, watch out for the Illuminati. Acknowledge this video is very informative. Stay strong, keep kicking that slang. It's your boy in the building, hip-hop legend, recording engineer, underground rock and roll hero, MC Too Tall. As I said, don't be a creep, don't be gross, don't have gross teeth. Learn to be like me. All right, take care.